So now it's now 1 o'clock, so we can start with our next panel, which is on secular sponsorship, and we have represented on the panel Gary S., Stephanie P., and Michael C. Take it away, guys.
All right. I hope you're all having fun today. I've enjoyed some free. I think that's the combination we're working with here. Anyway, when I first got sober, there were no agnostic groups in the Bible Belt, which in my case was the San Francisco Bay Area. I had no idea it was the Bible Belt until I went to an AA meeting. Go figure. And it's just in the last 7 or 8 years that I found that atheist, freethinker, agnostic, path, or whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter to me. And so in those early years for me, I got sober in 1990, and so in those early years for me, I had occasion after a couple of years, all of a sudden I found myself speaking a lot in the area. And I had been told that we seek. What are you good at sought? So I was a seeker. So I really was very non-committal about everything. I came in as an agnostic, and I told my sponsor I was an agnostic, and he gave me permission. Now you got to remember, I had that wonderful ego that we had come in with. And even though I had jaundice, I was having a really hard time putting sentences together. But nonetheless, during that period, and I said, well, gee, Frank, because he's a God guy. I said, Frank, I'm like an agnostic. And he says, well, that's okay, Gary. For you, whenever you see the word God in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, you just think good, orderly direction. And you can skip getting on your knees. And put your shoes on your bed, or whatever the saying was in those days. And that worked for me. And he never once tried to sell me the fact. He never once tried to co-opt me or simulate me or anything else. He respected my belief system, and I respected his. And so I was doing the speaker thing, and I revealed. I was speaking like every week, and eventually I revealed that I was an agnostic when I was at one of the speaking gigs, and the phone immediately stopped. It was remarkable. When I started, I was introduced to the AA shun. I don't know if anybody's experienced that. But it also did is it got the word out, and all of a sudden I started finding people at Alcoholics Anonymous who were like-minded. And people were, there were these people, because I was surrounded by the Lord's Prayer, but there were people not saying meetings, and pretty soon they were talking to me, and pretty soon I was sponsoring them. And I sponsor whoever asked. I'm not a gender-specific person. I'm a bisexual, so if I had to worry about gender, who the hell would I sponsor? What I sponsor is alcoholics, and I just don't give a shit about anything else. And during that process, so all of a sudden I found myself being approached by alcoholics who were agnostic, atheists, many who were Christians, and I just really don't care, because I come to the second step and it says, well, can we return, sometimes we bring you back to sanity, and typically that implies a higher power, because certainly, the judge can't bring you back to sanity. You might be suffering from drinking, but we can't make the same. And so there's lots of stuff. And so when I got to a second step with sponsees, I would say, well, tell me what it is. I want a page at least from you about what it is that returns you to sanity. And and Christian folk would almost invariably bring Christianity, and I respect that entirely. I really just don't. That's good. I'm not out to convert anybody about anything. And so you get into that, and they come to me, and I would hear everything that you can imagine. stair steps. And that's not lost on me, because they're entitled, because it's going to keep them sober. And that, as St. John Cross, remember, I was a seeker, so I read a lot of theology. Who talked about the dark night of the soul. And I believe that. I'll stick with that line, because I believe all of us have faced that at some point in time, whether you have a soul or not. It doesn't matter. We have all faced it at some point in time. Soul could mean anything you want. And so I'm working with these people. So we move on to the third step. So now they're saints for the moment. And I'm a gentle kind of sponsor. I'm going to pound it into you. I'm going to beat it into you. I have no interest in that, because I believe that by the time we get to Alcoholics Anonymous, we have already paid the price. I'm one of those guys who carries big books in his car and gives them to newcomers at the end of the day. Because I think we have all paid the price. They weren't by any other literature. Get your wallet out. The book Alcoholics Anonymous, I believe, should be free. And while I don't necessarily embrace a lot of the stuff that's in there, I find myself on every page, there's 164 pages, even in reading Gnostics, and I have serious problems with that chapter. It's the most condescending piece of it I've ever seen. Nonetheless, there it is. But I'm in there. I'm on every page of there. So I identify with that. I don't identify with the, get on the knees and praise God and all of that. So I don't need that, but I do get all the other stuff. All the similarities. I'm not concerned with the differences. So when I sponsor people, when I get into the third step, I say, well, okay, we take 2, we move it over to 3. You don't have to pray for me. It's okay. But are you willing to face the dark night of the soul with this as your higher power? When there's no phone and there's nobody else to go to, you're sitting in front of the bottle. I want to know, are you okay with it? And the fourth and the fifth, everything at that point starts to roll. Because if people get to that 3, especially agnostics and atheists, they're kind of on a roll by now. Because they're no longer afraid. They've passed the test. They're not going to be kicked out of AA. Because I was afraid I was going to be kicked out when I told my sponsor I was an agnostic. I thought I was just going to get the hell out of here. This is the last stop on the block. For me, it was this either worked or I was dead. And my liver was busy shutting me down. And so we move into the fourth, and people get as honest as they're able to be. And it's never been lost on me that you can do the steps as many times as you have to. Your degree of desperation will no doubt affect the depth at which you do these steps. I can harp on you, I can lecture you all day long. You're not going to have any resentments. You're not going to have, you're not going to have the kind of resentments I had. I know that because mine was long. But I have desperation. And a lot of people don't. So they move on to the fifth, and they're a little sheepish, and we all talk about the chicken. If you don't know the chicken joke, see me after the meeting. And then we do a fifth step. And after we've done the fifth step, I send them home. And I say, the book tells you to review what you've just done. Spend an hour thinking. Were you honest? Were you thorough? And I'm not a 12 person. I personally think that Bill was seriously depressed when he wrote that. So I don't think we're going to use it. So I use the big book. And it says, that 6 and 7 are a real quick process. If you're honest, great. If you missed something, write it down, see me. And we're going to move forward. I was stepped within 60 days of sobriety. And it's worked for coming on 28 years now. So clearly, it's possible to do that. funny to think about killing people. I just think about that a lot when I got sober. I just think about hurting people. And so I believe that this journey is a gentle journey. We don't have to pound it into anybody. I'm a 10, 11, 12 person. Do I pray at 11? No, I don't. But you know what? And I can't do Lotus. I'm not able to do it. I'm having back surgery this month, so you can imagine. But what I discovered Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese priest who talks about peace in every step. And he taught me how to do walking meditation. So, you know, there's a way around and to everything else. And that same sponsor raised my hand when I was 6 months sober and made me available as a GSR. There's much better than ever sitting next to me again. But, you know, and I went in with resentment state for 24 years. So this thing works. And I don't think it's sound to try to be sober and not to respect. So,
Thank you, Barry. I'm an alcoholic. Racing thoughts. I'm really excited to be here. Interestingly enough, a friend of mine in another fellowship sent me a flyer yesterday for this conference. I'd already known about it, but he had sent me a flyer, and this is a big guy. You know, he's really heavily involved in the Catholic Church. And I give him priest medallions, saint medals for Christmas. And he sends me flyers about secular conferences. And it's because we love each other because of this fellowship. And because in a lot of ways we sponsor each other because of our fellowship, right? I mean, I think that when we first come in and we're very lost and we don't even know that it's time to take a shower and that it's time to call mom and tell her that we're not in jail and that, you know, all of those things, right? And so in the beginning, our sponsors just help us get through day to day, not picking up. That's what mine did. Mine said, you have two choices. You can either go back into treatment because you can't seem to stay sober on your own, or you're gonna come stay here for a week. And that was the day I got sober and left my old life behind all in the same day. And she showed me how to show up, right? She showed me how to not drink. She showed me how to be of service. She showed me how to be accountable. She showed me how to go through the steps. But she knew that doing the steps and going through the process of recovery was going to be an inside job. And her job was just to be there to give me some direction. And it was hard for her because she knew I was an atheist. You know, when I was out there using, I'd tell you all the reasons why you should be too. And so when I got here, you know, it's what kept me drunk for a long time, for about 2 years. It's like, I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to get it, I can't do 2, I'm not willing to do 3, this is not going to work for me, I'm going to fucking die. But I keep showing up. I kept showing up because I didn't know what else to do. And she was an agnostic, Buddhist, something, I'm not sure what she was doing, but it didn't really matter, right? She knew that I needed to have my own step 2 and 3 experience. And all she did was give me the hope that I can too stay sober no matter what I believe. She also encouraged me to set aside all of my old ideals, right? Talk about the set aside prayer. I had a lot of set aside to do because I wasn't interested in believing in God. I wasn't interested, you know, I was brought up Catholic. Not that I really had anything wrong with Catholic. It was when my mom decided she was going to go from being Catholic to being, she was an S. Does anybody remember S? Right? She was going to go find herself in group therapy. And then she went to evangelical Christian. Right about the time that I was starting that alcoholic career. So about 14, bad time, all the way around, bad time. And that was a big turnoff for me, right? It wasn't because I didn't like it, it was because I didn't get it. It was like, I would sit there week after week after week in church and youth group and Sunday night Bible study and all of it, and I didn't get, none of it hit here. I understood it, right? It's not hard to read the Bible and understand it. It didn't hit here. So when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought, I don't get it. I don't get it. My sponsor helped me to understand that this is my own private journey, and there are people who that can walk alongside of me to help keep me on the path. What I see, what I feel, what I experience is only mine. You know, I don't know if I'd be here without that. And so, like somebody else was talking, Linda was talking about how important we are out in mainstream AA. And that is the reason why when I speak in mainstream AA, I don't talk about being an atheist because I want to be different or unique or set myself apart. That's really awkward. I don't like to be different than my fellows in the group. I talk about it because I know we're sitting in that room and that we're thinking we're going to die if we don't get this thing. And so as a result, those are the people that come up to me and ask me to be their sponsor. As a result, I get the phone calls from my Catholic friends and my evangelical friends and my Jewish friends saying, hey, I know I just met this girl in a meeting and she's struggling because she doesn't think she can get sober without believing in God. Can you call her? That's why I'm here, is to sponsor those girls. Now, I've sponsored other people that do believe, and I'm surrounded by people that believe. My husband's a big JC guy. He also thinks one day I'll get it. He is extra good all the time because he's trying to get me to heaven up bloody pass. Bless his heart. But you know what that is? I don't believe in that. I don't understand it. But you know what that is? That's love. Man, that's love. And so I don't care what people believe. I know that I love them because they're just like me, right? They just want to get sober. Like for me, sponsorship is about helping somebody just not want to die today. However, I take them through the steps. Somebody was talking about in the panel about the steps, like it's different. The words are different. If I know, if after doing a second step with you and I have a really good idea of what you believe in, then let's talk about the steps about that in a language that you can understand. Not what I understand, because shit about what I understand. That's between me and my sponsor. But let's talk about what you believe in and what you can relate to and what's going to keep your ass sober today. That's what matters to me. And so if it's talking about Christ, if it's talking about ocean, I mean, whatever. Who cares? If that's what's going to restore you to sanity, and if that's what you're going to turn your life over to, yes, then that is important for you. The other thing that I learned early on is that, you know, I have some sponsees that really struggle with, and I was one of those people. I would hear God on the steps on the wall, in the book, people talking, and I would just, right? Because that separated me from you every time. And she said, you know what? If you take the words in the book and wherever it says God and you replace it with the word recovery, it plays. It works every time. So there's that question, right? If God is everything or God is nothing. We all struggle with that, right? I mean, every secular meeting I've been to is like, God is everything, God is nothing. For me, recovery is everything or it is nothing. All day. And that goes for anybody. And so when I talk to my sponsees who are non-believers or who are struggling, who are seeking, whatever the case may be, recovery is everything or it is nothing. And that means a lot of things, right? Recovery means fellowship, it means the steps, it means praying and meditating. You don't have to pray to somebody, right? You don't have to meditate to somebody. You don't have to turn it over to somebody. Just turn it over. Just surrender. Just be humble. Just set your ego aside and pray. And then wait for the answer through meditation.
I have a passion for Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't want to be separate from them just because I don't believe the same things that some of my fellows believe. I want to stay here, and I want to find our place within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, because it saved our lives. And think about all the other people that couldn't get this thing because they didn't have the right sponsorship to show them that you can do this thing and not stay sober, that aren't with us anymore. My dad is one of those people. He didn't have somebody to say, you know what, Len Cross, you can stay here and stay sober even if you don't believe in God. He continued drinking and he died from this disease. I don't ever want that to happen to somebody else I love again. Whew. You know, I'm passionate about this shit. Thank you. Thank you for saving me.
Michael, I'm a grateful alcoholic.
Hi, Michael.
Hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the kind of interest of disclosure, I identify as an agnostic, and I didn't even know about free thinkers in secular AA until 2 years ago. When some friends of mine said, you know, we got this meeting coming, you gotta show up. I think it'll fit you pretty good. And it does. And I'm passionate about this, and I'm amazed to not be quite so alone. And so I got sober. My first meeting was October 12, 1989, and I walked in a desperate, hopeless, despairing human being who was not going to live another 6 months, for sure. I am rock bottom certain of that. The physical disease of alcoholism may not have taken me out, but something else would have. I was desperate and alone and terrified and unable to not drink vast quantities of alcohol whenever I touched a sip. And it's kind of funny, and I came in absolutely an atheist. It's not how I define it, but there was no possibility of my doing any of this on any kind of a religious, spiritual manner whatsoever. And I was 12-step the old-fashioned way. I was trying to pick up on this woman who had had a drunken one-night stand with a couple years before, and she kept looking at me and said, "Oh God, you're so pitiful. You should talk to my boyfriend." Well, that's kind of interesting, but her boyfriend is a 6'6" tattooed guy who just come out of federal prison off of a 7-year sentence for manslaughter. He looked like Charlie Manson's kid brother. So this woman, who I knew was hooked up with some, anyway. So I was so pathetic and desperate, I went and I talked to Jim Heintze in Durango, Colorado. And I could just talk to him. And then he'd share a little bit of his life, and amazingly enough, I understood what he was talking about, and he understood me, and I never felt understood by anybody. So I kept coming back to talk to him. And we didn't talk about alcohol or drugs or God for several weeks. And he actually never talked about God. And he waited for me to say, "I'm miserable, you're not. Why is it that you understand all this, and I understand you, and you don't want to put a gun in your mouth?" And he said, "When you walk away after we have a talk, do you feel better?" I say, "Yeah, I feel better. Sometimes I actually have a whole day where I'm okay and I'm not feeling crazy. I feel even better than that every time we talk." And I said, "Well, what?" He said, "Better that I go to a place where there's a whole room of people, men and women, who are as different from me as you and I are from each other. And every time I open my mouth, they understand everything I'm talking about, and I understand everything they're talking about. So you think that might be something that'll help you? I was like, that's not really imaginable, but yeah, sure. And that's how I got to AA. I got to AA, and I didn't even know if I was an alcoholic, and I was cagey. I mean, Jim 12 kept me on the line for 3 months. He waited for me to ask that question. He did it exactly out of the book. He waited for my moment of willingness. He never sold anything. Okay? So I walked in, and it was there were a bunch of, everybody looked like me, they're old. Right? Like the second edition of guys who didn't believe the third edition premise that young people could get sober. So I got introduced to AA trying to run me out because I was not qualified for my first experience. I didn't listen to that. Okay, so I know I have limited time, so I'm going to have to move quickly. Saw the steps on the wall when I started to come through. I got there and I heard all the pain and shame, and humiliation, and then the laughter. And that was my spiritual experience. And I knew then that I was whole, and I knew then I would do whatever you told me to do if I was going to have a chance at that life. I would do anything. And I read the steps on the wall and the God word, I didn't even say God, the God concept, and the gates of hell closed on me again. Right? And thank God I went to my sponsor and said, I can't do this. He says, I know you can't do this. Why don't we talk? And he explained to me that if I had the sense of belonging and that it was helping me, that I had a seat. There was no question that I was alcoholic, and no one could tell me otherwise. And if I wanted what was there, then I should show up unconditionally. I did. And what it came to, I kept struggling with the God higher power, and go, okay, as you understand. He finally handed me a copy of a Joseph Campbell book, 0,000 Faces. And I was kind of an intellectual college type guy. And I read, just start reading. A bunch of small things. Don't just start wherever, just start reading. I did. I said, so welcome to your hero's journey. You know you need to be different. That's kind of the basis of what we do here. How we lived our lives was not working. And you're attracted to whatever it is that we have. So are you willing to start your journey? And I was. And at that point I had done step 3. Right? I had had the desperation. For me, step 2 is about hope. Step 3 became willingness. Right? I'm going to try. So, I went through, and he said, go through this first 164 and change whatever you need to change. Let's talk. I just crossed out God every time I saw it. Put the initial HP. I still have that third edition big book. Right? I said, I don't even know what that is. But I'm willing to believe there's something because you have. I know that you are also changed. Right? And so I went through and I did this thing without any concept of God. All I had was a concept of willingness and to believe that those of you who are sober and didn't want to put a gun in your mouth were lying to me. And that's pretty much how I sponsor people today. I try and meet them where they are. I don't sell anything whenever I can manage to keep my mouth shut. Not always perfect about it. And I ask the people I sponsor, if you're here, there's a reason you're here. Right? The first step doesn't tend to be a problem. What do you hope for? Do you see hope around you? Do you see in one man, one woman to another what you want? And when they answer yes, then you're ready to take certain steps. And we'll work with whatever concept you need to do that, right? And I don't think I have the way or the only way. All I can do is be the example of what has worked so far for me. And I've sponsored people who became Catholic lay clergy. I've sponsored people who were very alternative spirituality, which I still don't understand in some cases. It doesn't matter. Because for me, I'm squarely in the heart of AA because it's about one alcoholic talking to another. And that bridged worlds. You know, the man who saved me, who opened the door for me, was a third grade dropout murderer who was the scariest looking son of a bitch I've ever met in my life, before or after. Right? I look for Izod wearing little college boy from suburban New Jersey, Orlando, Colorado, and that man knew my heart and I knew his. And that's before we even started talking about the rest of this. So I know the power of what we can do for each other. Right? So, you know, I saw somebody with a license plate frame, you know, I can't, you can't. And sometimes it's as simple as that. It doesn't matter to me what it is. There's a way to work with the principles of every one of those steps. And I believe in those steps because I needed to be changed. I believe that I had to become different. And through this thing, I did. And what I love in my tiny just toe in the water for secular AA is broadening the doorway. It's exactly what you said. If I didn't have that man and a couple of other people, I was dead. Right? I was dead. No, I was a walking dead man when I got here. I don't want that for any of my brothers and sisters. And whatever it takes, I'm up for it. And so that's my little spiel, and I'm glad you put up with me for a few minutes. Thanks.
Open it up. Anybody have comments, questions, ideas, different ways of doing it?
I'll take a point of personal privilege for just a second. I've been in the program for 4.5 years. I've been sober from alcohol for almost 20 years. I did that without AA. I needed a program to quit smoking weed. So I've been in the program a little over 4.5 years. Never worked with a sponsor. Haven't worked the steps. And I now have my first sponsee. So how does somebody who's never worked the program sponsor someone? Well, my sponsee, his problem, his biggest challenge to not drinking is he goes to work early in the morning. He leaves for work at 6:30 in the morning, and he would normally stop at a Circle K and pick up a couple of little sugar bottles and start that on his way to work, and then he would drink at work until like noon because he knew he had to be sober enough to go home to his wife at the end of the day. And so what we do is every morning at 6:30, I can hear his motorcycle warming up in the background. He calls me, and he just says, "I'm going to work." I said, "Have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning." Hang up, he goes to work, and that's it. And once a week we sit down together and we just talk. You know, I've talked about the steps, and he doesn't have all that much interest in it, but we just talk about what bothered you. I tell him how I dealt with it, and that's, so far it's working. I mean, he's got more sobriety now than he's had in the last 10 years, which is only like 38 days. But so there's all kinds of ways to do this. And what I said in the meeting today was that he doesn't really have any idea that our relationship is helping me at least as much as it's helping him. So anybody else have something you want to say about sponsorship?
Hi, I'm Regan. Maybe this isn't exactly about sponsorship, but I'm just wondering if any of you ever find yourself in a position in an AA meeting or AA event where you feel like you're being pressured to participate in Christian or religious things, and if so, how do you deal with that? What do you do? What would you recommend?
So, I got permission early on from my sponsor not to say the Lord's Prayer at the end of the meeting. But I do participate, I hold hands, and I use that moment as an opportunity to be grateful for the group. But invariably, every once in a while, somebody calls me out on it. For the longest time, my home group thought it was because I was Jewish. So I went with that for a while. But I've had people come up to me afterwards and try to, in their own way, convert me. You know what I mean? They think it's like some sort of temporary thing that I just need to get over.
Yeah.
I've had them invite me to church. I've had them tell me that I'm probably not going to stay sober. And that hurts my heart because I would not ever do that to somebody else, no matter what they believe. And so I just very politely thank them, because I think it's about tolerance and acceptance, and those are all of our codes. And I think we get pressured in a lot of ways, right? We get pressured not just about our beliefs, but all kinds of other things inside the rooms. And that's more about just realizing that we're just human beings who got, we're a little fucked up, let's be honest. And we're all just trying to get well. And that's okay. Yeah.
I'm very aware that I'm someone who carries a lot of privilege, and as having a lot of privilege is easier for me to do some things. But my first sponsor told me you're never going to keep everybody happy. And I would be disappointed if you tried. And he said, in fact, if you aren't pissing off about 20% of the people at any given time, possible that you're not really being very honest. You, as much of a liar as you are, you really need to be honest all the time whether you like the consequences or not. And he trained me to speak my truth, try and find some politeness with that and give them later. He said, I'd rather you, err to the side of someone taking offense than to the side of you not being honest. And that was terrifying. But I've pretty much stayed true to that. There's a little Facebook meme I put up every once in a while. Making everybody happy is impossible. Pissing people off is king. I like king. So,
Another thing you can do is just go to meetings where you don't feel like it. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Stacy.
I'm old and new in the program, if you grasp on that. I was raised Mormon, so I'm very sensitive to that. I never agreed with the church, and never, anyway, not my story. But almost a year ago, I was in the meetings, and there was a woman that I met in there who was an ex-Mormon, and she struggled so hard between what we were suggesting in AA versus what the church said. And it was just heartbreaking. And there was a day that she called me, and I totally understood what she was saying. She was so distraught and so, she was the mother of 6 children, and the children, most of them were you need to, they just being very, excuse the great moments. She ended up dying in a fire that I believe was self-set because she was drunk. And I was fortunate enough to actually have spoken to her a couple of days before she passed away. And I was so angry. Close friend, I'm sorry. I was so angry, and I run into a few other women who I've never seen again. So I'm curious, what would you recommend for somebody who is so wrapped up? I mean, what they believe is fine. I mean, whatever. But they're so conflicted and in so much pain because they feel being in AA is against what they're being taught in a religion such as Mormonism. So I'm curious what you would advise.
I've worked with many people who are indeed devout, or at least confined by a religious sense. And number one, I've worked very hard on respecting their religion, and if it's a new one to me, I mean, I've read the Book of Mormon. I read sci-fi.
I saw it in a play. Yeah, that person's pretty good.
I've read lots of theories, but if someone believes in that, it's my job to respect that, and it's my job to try to find a way that. We have entire countries who say they have no alcoholics, but yet Alcoholics Anonymous is busy there. So who knows? But at the same time, so I believe if someone's of a faith that number one says, well, you simply can't be alcoholic because we don't drink. How can you be alcoholic? We can talk about the disease as it goes beyond drinking, because alcohol is but a symptom of my disease, and I go beyond the alcohol, and if they work on the disease, and then maybe it occurs to them that drinking might be a problem, as a part of that. So I think there's many ways to do that. I've worked with a couple of Mormons, but they were lapsed Mormons. They were working hard to escape, and they knew they were. And so as a direct line to that particular faith, but I know many people. I've sponsored a number of Muslims who they're not supposed to be drinking, but they're drunk, and so first we have to go beyond the guilt. But the way we get beyond the guilt is to treat the disease, not necessarily the symptom. And the treatment of the disease, and I'm not taking a medical banner here, I'm talking about the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is one drunk talking to another. And I'm addressing my disease, my absence of self-worth, all the very, very long list that we walk in with, and that we ultimately deal with. And so I try to find the thing that they identify with and build off of that. And we can get around to the alcohol later. When they now feel more secure and begin to identify with me, when they identify with me and with the meaning of Alcoholics Anonymous, then they can start to be a little more comfortable inside their own skin. And isn't that why we come here? I think. And so anyway, that's all.
We got 5 minutes left. Anybody else want to speak?
Hi, Greg Alcoholic. a buddy of mine, he'll have about 3 years sober in March, and one thing that we were talking about the other day was he's had sponsees, and one thing that he's been encountering a lot of difficulty with is that his sponsees keep going out again, and he's really discouraged. He's kind of reached this point where he's kind of like, he's tried, he's consulted his sponsor, what am I doing wrong, tried to do it the way he was, he went through with his sponsor, he's tried different things, but it just keeps kind of, the sponsees keep going out. And I know it's not, he's a wonderful guy, and I don't know exactly how he goes about sponsoring people, but what would you guys say to, somebody who's feeling discouraged and doesn't want to, is kind of feeling beat down by putting himself out there and keep getting, and feels like he's letting these people down, so he's feeling discouraged, and he's really reluctant to sponsor people because he thinks that something's wrong with him or whatever. What do you say to somebody like that? So maybe I can convey that to him.
Well, I would refer him to Bill. Bill, poor Bill went through a few,
Yeah.
But Bob stayed sober, Bill stayed sober, right? We can't pick and choose how willing people are, or how honest they are with themselves. But if he's coming up on 3 years, he's doing something right. Right? That's kind of the way I look at it. And he has no idea, nor do I think it's really his business. He has no idea what kind of hope and love he's imparted on those guys that he's touched. And it may not come to fruition right in the moment. It may not even be next year. And he may never know how he helped that person, but I bet he did. And now those people have a head full of AA, so their drinking careers. Right? They'll never be the same after that. So when they do come back, they'll say, you know what, I remember that guy. That guy sat with me and he shared with me, and I'll never forget him for it.
Two lines. I would suggest that you point out to him that the vast majority of people who have this disease die not with it, but from it. And that if he has not drank during these episodes, he is a successful sponsor. That might sound flippant.
Hey, all right. We got a minute.
We got 2 minutes?
So I had a lot of trouble sponsoring people too. A lot of people going out, and it got to the point where I recognized that, maybe I should try and do my service work in a different way. So I got involved with Intergroup. Right? I got a bowling league down in Atlanta. We got a softball team in Atlanta. We had a softball team here for a while when I was with Intergroup, and did a lot of interesting things. And so it might not be his niche, but Intergroup or GSR might be his niche. He might be a secretary of a meeting. That might be his niche. He just might be looking for, how can I be of service in a way that is meaningful, that keeps me sober every day, that I feel like I've fulfilled myself, right? And it might not be sponsoring. I don't sponsor people because I travel too much mostly, and I'm a soaring eagle, so I'm all over the freaking place. I got sponsors all over the country. I got opinion in a couple of different countries, but that's the point. There's a lot of ways to be in service, and maybe sponsoring isn't the best way for somebody, especially if it's affecting their mental state of mind because of the actions of the people they're sponsoring. It's like, I don't want to go out and get drunk because a sponsee went out and got drunk. Oh, I feel so miserable. I'm such a failure. I gotta get stoned. Right?
You want to say something?
I just, Beth Alcoholic. One of the problems I've had sponsoring people like me is that they want to intellectualize everything and not talk about their feelings. And it's so hard for me not to just get sucked right into the debate. You know, like, well, am I really powerless? I'm sitting here, I'm not drinking right now. You know, so what is it? What is powerless? You know, it's so hard to. I mean, I believe that recovery is really experiential work, and you know, kind of at a visceral, and emotional level, and doesn't happen in my head. And I have struggled with people that are just like me, getting them out of their heads. I wonder if you had any advice for that.
In 30 seconds or less.
I don't hesitate to point out to them that my disease is in my mind. That's what my book says.
Yeah. Word.
I've been known to use the old recipe and cake thing. Hand them a recipe and say, okay, well, you know, I want you to read this and tell me about it. And, you know, come back and say, well, where's the cake? There are instructions. And whatever that works, whatever that relationship is, but that, you know, that understanding it is doing it. And when somebody wants to do it, they will. And, you know, if I'm fencing with it, it's my problem. And I still have my problem lots.
We were doing great to you, sir. Thanks very much. Thank our panel. Just as I was just told during the break that our totaler over there in the corner, Linda, has said that we've had 79 people check in today. That's more than double that we had 2 years ago. I think last time we had 43 registrants and 39 showed. So, I guess next year we'll be at Chase Field.